For those who can't be here, we always do record, but it does hit differently when it's live. At least, I have all the best intentions in the world. I don't know if you're like me, but I do always have intentions of coming back to a recording, and seldom that I do. But we are in week number 21 of the year. If you are tracking your year, we are in week 21. If you're tracking a sales year, so 48 weeks versus 52 weeks, right? A sales year. It means that we are, what, 42% through our year? All right. So good news is we still have a lot left. Bad news is 42% is already gone. So I love the topic of today, which is going to be our most leveraged activity. Before we jump into our topic of the day, any announcements that anyone wants to share? That anyone wants to share? Anything along that line? Miss Michaela, good morning.
Good morning. I just want to shout out a couple people on our team for the contest. Um, Dana on our team, leader of our DFW South team, is one agreement away, I think, from all 10 buyer and seller agreements. Then she's going to knock out that category. And I think she already has it in mind. She already told me she has it in mind. She just has to get it signed. So she's one away. And I think DJ and Sally are just a couple. Away from their 50 lead like ads to the system. And then we have a couple agents who are just like really close to the open house mark as well. And then pretty much everyone's knocked out like their certifications. So I just want to like shout out everybody on the City Up group, DFW South team. Like they're just killing it on this contest. I'm just so freaking proud of everybody.
Dude, that's awesome. Still like pretty good because we're not even in June yet. So I love it. That's a great reminder. Yes, we actually do have a production contest going. And a lot of us, I would say probably a good 70 to 80% of us on this call is probably had the intention to do it. So intention and motivation meets up, and here we are. Let's do it. We have a whole month ahead. I love it. Great work. Elizabeth, seventh agreement come in today. Great work for real. My gosh. Okay. I love that. Any other announcements, shout outs, or gratitude before we jump into our topic with our guy, Mr. Michael
Can I make
Brown?
a quick shout out, partner?
Yeah, you can.
All right. So it seems like I'm a broken record every single week. I want to give Kevin a shout out. Kevin just put, I believe it's his highest contract so far. I think it's a over $800,000 contract pending yesterday. And the big shout out comes from, he just took another listing that's right down the road from that property at $999,000. So Kevin, great job maximizing every single listing, fighting for your clients. And if you don't follow Kevin on social media, please follow him because he is upfront, gritty, and he'll say it exactly how it is.
I love that, man. I'll tell you what, we help everybody, right? Like the path to home ownership uh, usually starts entry level, right? And yet, man, it feels good when it's an 8, 900,000, million plus. So with you will help anyone who comes to you, but your lead generation time, that's where you got to be strategic. I love that. Great work. Great work. Wonderful. So this morning we're gonna talk on a topic called the listing presentation. This should not be a new concept to anybody. If it is, it might just be your first day. And first day is also okay. Everybody had a first day. We're going to talk about this for 4 reasons. If you want to write them down, here are the 4 reasons we're talking about listing presentation today. Number 1, it is listing season. If for some reason you've been living under a rock and you don't realize that it's almost June, it's almost June. There's no reason that each of us cannot be putting 2 or 3 clients under a listing agreement every month, especially in the summertime. So that's number 1 reason we're talking about it. Number 2, sellers bring the most qualified, the most ready buyers to you by way of what? Sign calls, online leads that you get, right? Showing requests, your open houses hit differently, right? Sellers bring the most qualified and ready buyers to you. And when we set up our seller side of the business, the buyer side of the business naturally shapes up. They are further along in the process by the time they inquire about your listing than when they're just viewing things online. So again, awesome. Number three, we have really good seasoned agents on our teams. Like really good. Some of us are getting stuck in the weeds. So Michael is going to help us kind of get unstuck. And number four, we have newer agents. There's a few that are newer to our teams, to our company, and you guys have really big goals and you want to have help of like, what does this listing presentation actually sound like, right? So Michael, I'm going to go ahead and spotlight Mr. Michael. If you don't know Michael, he is a good one to know. Michael, how long have you been around our company now?
Gosh, I've been here going on 7 years. I think in August or September this year it'll be.
Yes, I love that. Okay, 7 years. You primarily handle like, is it the Sacramento area?
Yeah, so we're Greater Sacramento area. Our territory is pretty large. So
Okay.
there's really three main counties we cover: Sacramento, El Dorado, and Placer. So quite a
Okay.
few cities there, but I'll go even farther beyond that. We'll go up the hill into, Placerville, even up to, I got one client that may be selling a house in Truckee this year that I'm working with. And then for some clients, we'll go down to the Bay Area. I've got several. I got a listing coming up in a week down in Pleasanton. So higher price points and all that, but depending on what it is, we cover quite a bit of territory.
Okay, cool. Just for concept, for those of us who are not familiar with California, is like how far will you go? Like how far will you drive, I guess, time-wise maybe, for a listing? Just
That's a great question. It depends on the price point. Those Bay Area ones, they get into the millions, so obviously it's a lot easier to make that drive an hour or two, even depending on the price point. Again, listings are like fishing. You don't have to spend a bunch of time with those clients. It's more about how we market online and all those things. And a lot of times it'll be, if I'm doing multiple transactions like this one in Pleasanton, they're going to be buying up here in my area as well. And so I'm handling kind of two of these transactions at once. So I'd say anywhere from an hour to two, depending on the client and the price point.
okay, that makes perfect sense. And then price point wise, like what are you experiencing in your area? Just set that up for us.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say average price point, just overall three counties, we're probably in the 500,000, a little bit above range, depending on what city. I mean, you have different price points. Folsom's going to be entry level 5 to 600,000, and you go up as high as several million. You go to South Sacramento, you're looking at entry level 3 to 400. So anywhere in those ranges is pretty normal.
Okay, so that describes a lot of our markets, guys. Maybe slightly lower, slightly higher, depending on what you and your team focus on. The Austin area, by the way, like our 4 county average is like 596 average, right? So like we're talking a lot of the same conversation here. Background before sales, what'd you do?
Before sales, I was in business banking, so I do new accounts for clients, and then before that, I was in retail grocery.
Okay, so like this is like we're killing it here. Let's go.
Yeah.
Uh, I love Michael. We if you've been around for a hot minute, Michael I think was here maybe like 18 months ago, 2 years ago. I actually did not check, but I remember that Michael has been here before. So you may remember Michael. I think did you lose some weight? Like something's
Oh,
different about you.
I
You
don't
look
think so.
great.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, definitely, real estate's working for you, bud. So on the topic of listing presentation, Jake DeRosa recommended you, and he said, "Man, Michael is really freaking good at this listing presentation." And the reason I wanted to bring Michael in, guys, is those of you who have been here a while, our listing conversion is not as high as we want it to be. And that's because we're glossing over some stuff. Those of you who are newer may be getting really lost. Your clients may be getting lost. So Michael has like kind of like a 5-minute version. When would you use like that 5-minute version?
That's a great question. I think it comes into the setup. And I think really just listing presentations and appointments in general, how you set them up really determine the success with them. And what I mean by that is I want to take the time up front to ask certain questions. What is this person looking for in an agent? So I know where to focus on in the presentation. Are they ready to sign papers when I go out to the appointment? I always like to ask that question. So I know when I go out, they're expecting me to ask them to sign if they like what we have to say. I think knowing what price they want to sell for is important. So I know what objections to expect. And then what I always do is I always send the marketing plan, so our listing presentation packet. I email it to them ahead of time and ask them to look at it before we meet. So that way, if they have any specific questions, I can touch on specific things and not spend a ton of time on the paper or on the presentation part. I think a big part of it is a consultation. I want to spend a lot of time asking about them, asking about their needs, really talking through what they want to do, and less
And you're
time
doing
on
this on the phone.
on
This
the
is on.
phone. This is on the
Okay.
phone. And so I'll set the appointment. And then before I hang up, I'll say, hey, I'm really excited to meet with you. However, before I come out there, just to help me prepare, I have a few more questions. You have, 2, 3 more minutes. I could ask a couple more questions. And then I'll really deep dive into this part to set up my appointment, whether it's the next day or within the next week. But going out to this appointment, one of the things I'm going to ask them is if they had a chance to review the marketing materials that I sent. And what that's going to tell me is if they looked at it, great. They've already had a chance to get to know us a bit. They've probably read some of the stuff, and at that point I can ask them, hey, what did you think? Any specific questions on what we do? And if they say no, I think it's awesome, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time on the presentation. I'll talk on briefly the 4 things we do that set us apart, just double check if there's anything they want to know more about. And if the answer is no, great, let's talk about pricing and sign the papers, because it means that we're a good fit to work together. They looked at all the stuff and they like us. If they say no, though, then I'm going to have to spend some more time on our presentation and actually show what we do and what value we bring. That way they're confident in working with us.
So if I were sitting across from you as a seller and I have looked at this, maybe I flipped through it, kind of got a good vibe of you guys, and you were going to do just like a quick 4-point view, right? What does that sound like?
That's a great question. So I'd sit down and talk about our team a little bit, introduce what place is, and then I'd get to that page that has the 4 things that set us apart. I'd say, you know what, Adelina, I'd like to share with you just briefly the 4 things that set us apart from any other team that you might talk to in real estate. And number 1 is that we work as a team. And what that means for you is for the exact same price that you'd pay an individual agent, you actually get a whole army of professionals to do all the things it takes to get done. Gosh, there's 180 different tasks that we do just to get your house on the market, let alone all the things that come after that. And so I always like to ask, for the same price, what would you rather have? Just one person trying to do everything, or a whole team?
Okay, so you're pre-closing.
Yeah,
Okay, I like
pre-closing
that.
it. Not every section I like to trial close, but I'll ask them, yeah, whole team, great. Yeah, that's what I thought, and that's why we work that way. Number 2 is our track record. And what I like to share with people is that we actually sell more homes for more money than anyone else across the country. In fact, as of last year, we're the number 1 team in the country. And the number 2, we do more than double the transactions that they do. And what that means is, 1, we have way more resources to help you and make sure we're paying to have your property showcased at the highest level. And 2, we on average have a 4.9 to 5-star rating with our clients, with well over 100 reviews on multiple sites. And what that means is that we deliver a high level of customer satisfaction. And that's stuff that we can't make up. These are things that real people have said about us. Number 3 is our transparency. And I always like to ask, Adelina, have you ever had a bad experience in real estate, or share with me a little bit about your history with real estate?
Yeah, I feel like, sometimes, the house sells itself, or, sometimes, it's a set it and forget it, so different markets, I felt like I've experienced different things.
Gotcha. Yeah, and one of the things that's really important with us is our transparency. And what we felt was that there was really a lack of this in the industry. That agents would say all this stuff they're going to do and then really not deliver on it, or there was no way to hold them accountable to actually marketing and servicing a listing the way that they promised. And what we actually developed is a software that gives you 24-hour a day, 7-day a week access to our client portal, where you'll see all the marketing we've done. You can see all the showings we've had. I mean, gosh, you can go in and click on a link. It'll send you to the website where we're advertising your home in different places. And what that does is actually holds us accountable, and it shows you that we're doing what we said we do for the fees that we charge. And then number 4, most importantly, is our marketing approach. And frankly, no one does more to market homes. And I'm talking about on-site, online, and actually international marketing as well. So for you, Annalie, I know you had a chance to look at this before. Is there any one of these 4 categories that you'd like to go further detail or have any questions on, or are we pretty satisfied with these areas?
I kind of feel like, the Bay Area does bring in, some international folks, and, like Sotheby's and Compass, they say they do a lot in that front. I mean, is that something I can expect from you guys, or what does that look like?
Oh yeah, 100%. I can go into extreme detail what we do. The bottom line is we actually have research that shows where different countries are most likely to purchase. We can actually geo-target these locations. We run advertisements different ways. Some of these countries have sites that are kind of like Google or Zillow and whatnot. And we advertise all those ways in geo-target to make sure we're reaching areas that would be interested in purchasing a home in this location.
Very cool. Okay, got it.
Awesome. And so from there, if they want to know more about a specific thing, I might dive in deeper. If they say, no, that's great, I really like what you guys have to say, great, let's jump into the pricing. We'll take care of the paperwork. And so that would be the 5-minute version. I don't want to talk myself out of a listing. At the same time, I want to make sure I touch on a couple things. I had this bite me in the back one time where I didn't check ahead of time if they looked at it, even though I sent it. I went through the 4 things. Anything you want to know more about? Nope, we're good. I didn't get the listing. Someone else spent more time and provided more value, and it wasn't me. So I think making sure they read it, had a chance to look at it, and then also making sure you actually deep dive where it's important really helps you set up to get the listing signed.
Okay, so then now you come in and you're like, and I was like, no, I've got 3 kids, I'm pregnant. I had every intention of like actually looking at it. Thanks for sending. I didn't look at it. I'm so sorry.
That's totally fine. That's why I actually brought a copy of it with me, and I'd love to dive into this a little bit with you. And going into this as well, this is one of the reasons why I think it's super important to ask what's going to be the top 3 or 4 things that they're looking for in an agent. Because if they say, oh yeah, you guys know what you're doing, can market the home, or they might say, oh, just communication is important, or these different things. The reason why I want to know that is it's going to tell me where to focus on in the presentation where they're actually going to be interested. I've seen it several times, either my own experiences or helping newer partners and all that, where they're giving the presentation and you can really tell the person's getting bored with it. They start getting fidgety and just aren't really paying attention any further what you're talking about. And so I want to make sure I show our value, but I show value in the areas that they care about to persuade them that we're the right team and that they need to sign with us. And
So
so
you're not walking into this like sitting them down for an hour or two going through the presentation, no matter how they're feeling. Like you're like
if
that's
they
not what
if they really want to know about it, I'm happy to spend 2 hours going through the presentation in extreme detail. I've had some people that are like that, and I'm there for 3-4 hours and I get a listing, right? But I'd rather not do that, right? My time is important, their time is important. If I can walk in and within 30 minutes to an hour and a half have a listing, I'd prefer that over staying for 3 hours. And so I really try to tailor it to the person, what they care about, and making sure that I'm staying in alignment with them and not boring them. Because I think if you go too far, you can lose a listing just by talking too much.
Got it. So it's not your lack of confidence, or it's not your lack of just needing to like get all the words out so that you feel like you did a good job. It's you reading the room.
It's me reading the room. I do a lot of trial closing. And one of the things is I can always go back and talk on a different subject. Let's say all they care about is marketing. Well, I'm going to talk on these 4 things just like I did. I'll do that exact same script, but instead of saying, is there anything you want to know more about? I might say, hey, I know you said marketing was really important to you, and I definitely want to touch on that. But before I jump into that, did you have any questions about our team, our track record, our transparency? Right? Just to see if they want to know more about that part. And if they say no, then I'm just going to focus on the marketing part. And I'm going to start kind of there, what the stuff we do to start marketing to a point where I get their satisfaction. Then I'm going to trial close. On each section, I'm going to say, hey, when it comes to how we market to agents, does this seem like a plan that would work for you? Or is there something else you can think of that we could do in addition to this, right? Or when it comes to marketing your home online, is there something else that you can think of that we could do? Or does this seem like a plan that would work for you? And I'm trial closing on each section, getting them to say yes. And so when it does come time to sign the papers, it's a lot easier to get that signed. If they all of a sudden have some pushback, I can say, well, just out of curiosity, most of the time when I meet with a potential client and they said they love our marketing, they love this, and that, and they're not ready to sign, there's usually a question or a concern that they have that I haven't answered yet. So let me ask you, what question or concern might you have that I could answer today? So I can always go back and touch on those, but I don't just want to go through every single thing. I want to focus on what they care about.
I love that. So if I hadn't read it, like what is a non 1 hour or 2 hour pitch sound like?
Great. So what I'm going to do is let's just say that you cared about marketing. So I go through that. You said, yeah, I care about the marketing. Awesome. What I'd love to do is jump into what we do to sell your home. Now, the first thing that we talk on is knowing what type of buyers are actually going to be purchasing your home. And what I found is there's 3 different types of buyers. Number one, you have an auditory buyer where they really make a decision to purchase based on something that they hear, right? And so what we do to target this specific buyer is we actually are going to call your neighborhood and reach out to all your neighbors, let them know about this house that's on the market, this awesome home, and see if they happen to know someone that's interested in purchasing. Basically, like that radio advertisement, getting the word out about your property. Number 2 is going to be a visual buyer. This is the type of buyer they make a decision by they see it, it looks awesome, they want to buy this house. And to do this, we do top-notch marketing online, making sure your property stands out so that people want to come see it and put an offer on it. And then number 3, there's the kinesthetic buyer. This is the type of buyer where, hey, it just feels right. It's the one that's going to walk into your house and it just feels like home. And what we're going to do with this type of buyer is making sure that the property, it just shows awesome when they come here in person, whether it's the staging, the paint, whatever we decide to do to prepare the property, this person's going to decide to purchase your home based on how we prepared it. Now, there's about 8 different categories that we go through to make sure that your home sells. Number 1 is going to be our pricing strategy, making sure that we're priced effectively. One thing that you're going to find is that unfortunately, we don't get to pick the price. It's the market that decides the price. And what we'll look at is all the homes that have sold here in the neighborhood, on the high end what they look like and on the low end what they look like. And we'll determine together today, based on the condition of your home and the location and the amenities and features that it has, where it falls in there. Number 2, how your property shows. And what's important about this is, again, finding ways to make sure your property shows better, whether it's the photos that we do, the staging that we do, any repairs that we do, so that when a buyer comes and sees it, they decide that this is the house for them. Number 3 is going to be how the property is marketed, making sure that we have a robust marketing plan and we're reaching everyone possible with your home. Number 4, having the same plan internationally. Number 5, making sure we have a high level of communication, both between us, but also with other agents. One of the things I always do with any agent that shows your home is I reach out personally and ask for feedback. Some of the questions I ask is, 1, are you going to be writing an offer? If so, great. When can we expect it? Number 2, is if you're not writing an offer, is there anything we can do about the home, whether it's the price or the paint or something that would compel your client to write an offer? That way, if there's some adjustments that we can make, we can actually make those adjustments and get your home sold, versus some agents that just wait for agents to call them. Number 3, I'm going to ask, if they're not writing an offer on your property and there's nothing we can do, is there a property somewhere else that they're writing on? Or is there some, basically, is it just not the right house for your client? And that way I can actually give you tangible feedback, or if there's adjustments that we can make to sell your house, we're actually able to do that versus you not knowing what's going on with the showings that we're having. Number 6 is going to be working with a team with an active buyer database. And what that means is, hey, we actually have people that are looking for homes. Our team here locally has a database of over 10,000 buyers that are looking for homes in this area. And we're actually going to start by looking with the buyers that we have first before we look for new buyers. The cool part about it is our software actually allows us to search our database based on home criteria, meaning we can see what our database is looking at. We know what types of homes that they're looking for. And I can search your property through our database and it'll spit out anywhere from 10 to several hundred people that might be interested. And we're going to start by calling those folks to see if they're the right buyer for your home. Number 7, a big one here is our partnerships. And this includes several things. 1, we own an awesome mortgage company that has some amazing programs. We can also offer some special financing with these programs specifically on your property. And we advertise that special financing that we offer. And what this does is a couple things. 1, when a buyer does want to buy your home, if they do want to take advantage of some of these programs that we have, we can actually save them anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 potentially on the costs and all that comes to purchasing your home. And that's stuff that they don't have to ask you for. So finding ways to save you money. Number 2, because we advertise that special financing, we actually get an increase in interest in your listing just based upon wanting to know what that is. And the more calls we get, the more chance we have to talk about your property. The other thing this would entail is title companies that we have relationships with, vendors we have relationships with, inspection companies we have relationships with, just insulating your property in this transaction with professionals that are going to make sure that it runs smoothly. And it's super important to have that in order to have a smooth, wonderful experience with selling your home. And then number 8, and probably most important, is negotiations. One of the things I see with my job is not only at the get-go to get you the most amount of money possible for your home, but to make sure we keep that money throughout the transaction. And so what this is going to entail is finding ways to eliminate negotiation points in the transaction when it comes to sell your home. And I'm happy to go into more detail on that in just a bit here. Now, a couple things I want to talk about is when it comes to marketing your home, we actually do it based on data, not just on throwing stuff to the wind. And what I mean by that is we actually look at a study called the Profile of Buyers and Sellers, which the National Association of Realtors does every single year. And what that study says is that, you know, basically asking buyers where they go about finding a house, or hey, how did you find the house that you purchased? So I always like to ask, Annalene, when you bought this house, how did you find it?
You know what? I actually found it online. Uh,
Okay,
yeah, I did. It
gotcha.
came on the market, and I was just one of the first to see it.
Yeah. Well, hey, and you're in the majority. Gosh, since COVID, I'm sure 120% of people actually find their house online, right? Or at least start there. But what we found is really about 98, 99% of people start online. What's crazy is about 52% of the time, the buyer actually finds the house online first before they send it to their agent and then go see it and ultimately purchase it. So what that means, and it's really important for you, is that you work with a team that has a robust online marketing plan where we have the ability to reach those buyers exactly where they're going to start. And that's the most important thing in today's real estate market. Number 2, we found that 30% of the time, it's actually the agent that finds the property first. And what that means is that the agent's still very important in the real estate process. And we have to have a plan to market to agents as well. And then about 20% of the time, it's the traditional marketing. It's the for sale sign, it's the open houses, those types of things. And so here's what we do to target those areas. Number 1, we know, like I said, the real estate agent is still very important in the transaction. About 70% of all transactions nationwide, actually, at least one side is represented by an agent. And like I said, 30% of the time, the agent is the one that finds the property. And so what we do is we have several different ways we target these agents and help them do their job, where instead of waiting for them to find your property, we put it in front of them. What that's going to include is several things. Electronic flyers. We're going to actually send them details about your property. We have virtual tours that we can do. We have broker outreach, where every time we're in a meeting with our broker or in a networking event, we're going to talk about your property. It also includes bringing flyers to all those different events and talking about the listings that we have. One of the most important things that we're going to do, though, is we actually have the ability with our technology to reverse search and find agents that are looking for a similar property like yours. We can actually go in and, based on the criteria of your house, see what type of agents have been looking for a house like that. And the implication is that they may have a client looking for it. I'll tell you a story. About a year ago, I had a client selling a house in Carmichael, and they were having trouble selling with a different agent. They decided to hire us instead. And we did this process. We actually, before we even put it on the market, we actually sent it to a list of about 300 agents that had been looking for a home that was similar. Sure enough, an agent I know called me up and said, wow, this is perfect for my client. I said, great, we're holding it open this weekend. Come on by. They came on by, and guess who bought the property? That agent's client put an offer in. And so it's very important that you have a team that knows how to target those agents and can actually reach them, the ones that have buyers looking for your home. Now, when it comes to marketing to agents, does this seem like a plan that would work for you? Or is there anything else you can think of that we can do in addition to this that I forgot to mention today?
No, that sounds very robust. It's because I know a lot of people can put it online, but it sounds like you guys are going an extra step forward.
Exactly, right. It's like I said, it's instead of them doing their job, we're going to help them and we're going to put your property in front of them. The next part that I talked about was the online marketing. Again, 100% of people start there. About 50% of the time, the buyer finds the house online. And so it's important that we have a plan to market your property everywhere possible. And frankly, no one does more when it comes to getting your property everywhere online. What this includes is, 1, brokerage websites. So all the different brokerage sites, like Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Better Homes and Garden. And what this means for you is it doesn't really matter if you like someone else's website better than ours, although ours is pretty awesome. Because your property is going to be on their website too. Number 2 is going to be listing portals. These are sites like Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, et cetera. You have a favorite listing portal by any chance?
I like Zillow because it's easy, but I like homes.com because there's a lot of
Hmm.
data.
Gotcha. Yeah, and the cool part about it is one, we get your property on these websites and they're going to be on all the different ones. And two, we actually pay the money with our resources to make sure that they stay at the top of the list. A lot of times agents will put them on there and there's gosh 20 to 50 pages of homes. I mean, you personally, are you going to page 10, 15, 20 when you're looking at houses?
I'm not. Maybe the first two, three, four.
Yeah, first two, three, four is pretty normal, and so it's important that your property shows up on page one. We actually had a client a couple years ago again that we had their house on the market. The market was kind of shifting, and it took a little bit of time to sell this home. And we were on day 60, but their property still showed up on page one on Zillow. And guess where the buyer came from? We actually got a Zillow call that came in. We showed the house. They loved the way we presented it. Not only did they want to offer it, they actually wanted us to sell their home as well. So we put their house on the market. And guess where we found that buyer? We actually found them through Zillow. They came in and we actually handled all four parts of that transaction just by making sure our marketing was top notch and we were reaching people on those listing portals. Number three is going to be search engines. So sites like Google, Yahoo, all those different search engines. What we do with this is the way we run our search engine optimization. Someone Googles or looks for a home in a specific area, our website pops up, they register to use it. We get their data, but we can also see what they're looking at, and we can actually convert with all the traffic we get on our websites. These people, we can actually see what they're looking at, and you can guarantee if they look at your house, we're giving them a call. Number four, classified services, so sites like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and whatnot, et cetera. We actually market there too, and then all the different social media platforms, you name it, Facebook, gosh, even Snapchat, we can put advertisements there as well. But as you can see, we like to cast the net wide when it comes to marketing your home to make sure that we can reach the right buyer when it comes to finding that buyer for your house. Now, when it comes to online marketing, is there anything you can think of we could do in addition to that I forgot to mention today, or does that seem like a plan that would work for you guys when it comes to selling your home?
It sounds like a really good plan.
Awesome. And then the last one I mentioned was the traditional marketing that kind of old school way. We still do a lot of that. It still is effective about 20% of the time. So what this includes is our for sale sign. We have some awesome signs. They're going to go in the go in the yard there, make your house really look cool. One of the things that we do in addition to that is, have you ever seen those little flyers that go on the for sale sign where you can go up and get information about the house?
Like a little QR code, or is it the one you actually pick up?
Like the paper flyers.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Very,
even the
very rare.
very rare, right? And even the QR code, hey, they get a little picture, they can see information about your house. So we actually do it a little differently. We don't do the paper flyers and we don't do the QR code. Instead, we do something called call capture technology. And what that is we actually put a little sign or a rider in the yard with your sign that says, for all information and pictures on this home, please text this keyword to this number. And what happens is, instead of just someone grabbing a flyer, looking at it, walking away and never seeing your house, they actually will text us. We'll give them all the information and all the pictures on your home. We'll actually give them some information of homes around the area. So they get a lot of value from doing that, but we actually get their phone number as well. And what that lets us do is actually communicate with and call these people and turn them into not only a potential viewer, but a potential buyer of your home, instead of never even knowing who walked out front and grabbed one of these flyers. And we actually had one last year where that exact thing happened. Someone was looking to move to that area. They were a teacher in the school in the neighborhood. They were driving, gosh, spending $500 a month in gas just to get to work. And they were looking for just that size home in the area. They texted our number, we called them up, and they bought the house, right? So making sure we're not missing buyers when there's opportunities, when they could just take a flyer, they're actually communicating with us and we are giving them a chance to buy your house. And so again, when it comes to the traditional marketing, is there something you can think of we could do in addition to that, or does that seem as well like a plan that would work for you?
That's a good plan.
Okay, awesome. Well, hey, Adeline, I'm happy to jump into some of the international stuff if you want as well. We do some very similar things there. And again, coming back to the other three things, is there anything else you'd like to know more about our team, or does it seem like a good fit when it comes to selling your house?
I mean, it sounds like it's a very thorough delivery of how you're going to do this for me.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Well, if that's the case, let's go ahead and jump into the pricing. And then if everything makes sense, we can take care of the paperwork. Sound fair?
Sounds good. I'm going to open it up to the group. Questions on any part of the listing presentation that you're getting hung up on personally, or you're losing people. And it's okay if you have to jump off, like no harm, no foul. We're a little bit over. But if you have any questions, anything you want to work through, it sounds like, unless you're living under a rock or you zoned out, Michael really knows what he's doing. pop into chat or raise your hand or just speak up. Any part of the listing presentation that you're getting hung up on that he can help you through. Because otherwise, I'm going to be expecting like 2 to 3 listings in June from everybody. And there's a lot of people that were on the call. So we'll give it a second, Michael. People
Oh, yeah, no
sometimes
problem.
are shy. And Michael's joining us from California, which, you know, if you're doing the time change, it is 2 hours behind us. What if they want a price too high? April, that's a great question. You did the listing presentation, and you know they love you, Michael. You're a great guy, and they want a price too high. Maybe somebody.
That's a great question. And I think number one, I want to know where they're at price wise coming into it, which is why it's super important to ask that question. You know, hey, are you familiar with homes that have sold nearby and what they're selling for? And on top of that, you know, hey, out of curiosity, how much do you need to sell this home to have this make sense for you, right? How much do you need to sell for have this make sense for you, right? And I don't want to say it in a way where it's like, how low can I get you to go? But it's like, hey, in order for you to win through this process and to accomplish your goals, ultimately, how much do you need to sell this home for to have this make sense? Because I want to know if we're like $200,000 off and they need to have that, it's not even worth my time going out there. I might even call and cancel the appointment instead of spending 2 hours plus drive time or whatever to get wherever it is. I want to make sure that it makes sense and that we're not wasting excuse me, we're not wasting time. Now, if we're pretty close, you know, I'm going to let the data do the heavy lifting, and it kind of comes down to the 555 pricing strategy and that pricing script, and really talking on, hey, we're going to look on the high end what they're selling for, on the low end what they're selling for, and you know, unfortunately, it's not us that picks the price. I wish I could just sell your house for $2 million. The market's what's going to sell it, and it's really important that we price where the market's at in order to see success in this market. I think stories are important with it too. After I look at the comps, before I tell them where I'm at, I always ask them, hey, after looking at these homes, what are your thoughts? Where do you feel yours falls into play? And if, you know, that also kind of tells me, they may say, you know, a realistic number, they may say a non-realistic number, but if they say a number that's lower than I'm at, hey, great, I agree. Let's price it there. Or if they're within range where I'm at, you know, I may be comfortable pricing it there and taking the listing, and you know, if they're just above it, if it's close, I'm fine taking it, but making sure we put in the contract, hey, if we don't have good activity or offers within the first few weeks, we're open to doing an adjustment. I want to set that expectation. But I just had that conversation with, it was a mobile home listing, so a small price point, last week. I think it was Friday, and they wanted to price it at 110, you know, 120. And I showed them that, you know, although you've done some updates, this is a 1968 built mobile home, and the only ones selling for the price you want are brand new. They're 2017, 2018, 2019, 2023. They're on a different park too. All the ones in yours, not one is sold above 100. I don't think I can't be confident because I don't have an example of 1 year condition that we can get it, right? And all the other ones I'm seeing, they're just newer. The financing changes on those, all that. And so, yeah, I'd be okay pricing a little bit above as long as you guys are okay with dropping the price if we don't get it, because I don't have an example that justifies that price. And they ultimately went away from 125, and we listed at I think it was 94.5. So I talked them down 30,000 off what they wanted just based on the data. So I think the data does a lot of the heavy lifting. I think knowing how much they need to get is important, because a lot of times need to get is different than would like to get. And knowing that I can, you know, if they have to get 700,000, but their house is worth 6, and they can only makes sense to sell at 700, I may not even got to the appointment. I'll be frank with them, let them know.
What if you don't have, you know, like obviously 555 method is a perfect scenario. What if you only have 1 or 2, you know, good
That's a
comps?
great. Well, actually, I'll tell a story from a couple days ago. So we actually went out to a listing presentation a couple days ago. There was only really 4 comps in this very specific neighborhood. 3 of them were active, and 1 had sold, but it was such a different property. It was so different price. I think it sold for 829. The rest of these are for sale around 750, 760. And the one that sold for 829 was probably the most similar, but its backyard had a $100,000 backyard with a pool and all that stuff that they had. And so it really wasn't the best fit, and it was back in August of last year. And so we basically told the clients, look, you know, I wish I had more data, right? I don't have a ton of great data points that show this price. I've got this one here at 830, and I've got these other ones at 750 and 760. And so my concern is, you know, one, I don't have the data to justify this 830 price in today's market, because that was about 6 to 8 months ago. At the same time, these ones right now at 750, yeah, they're less, and I think yours is a little bit nicer than theirs, but these are sitting. These are on the market 50, 60 days, and they're not moving. And I'm concerned with that because I don't see buyers biting on this price. And when you price, you want to think like a buyer, right? I know you have all the personal and the heartstrings attached to your house. However, you need to separate yourself from that, put yourself in a buyer's shoes, and just look, if you were coming into this market and you saw your home on the market and these other three, which one would you buy? You're probably going to the one that's the best deal for the condition and the location that it is. And so you want to think that way when you price your home. And then I'll share stories. And one of the ones I share with this particular person is, and they wanted in the sevens, they wanted as close to 8 as possible. And I'm kind of showing them 750, 760 is where they're listed at. But I said, hey, I had a client, this is the same Carmichael one I share with you. He was actually a buddy of mine. They listed with someone else because he had a business partner that chose the person. It just wasn't working well. The marketing was not great. I mean, he had to call me to get him in his house because he lost his key and his agent wouldn't go out there for like a week to let him in the house. And so they decided to work with me. And one of the things at the time is the agent wanted him to drop the price from 575 down to 550. And I looked at the comps, and it was a similar situation where you got 4 or 5 on the market that aren't moving at the 550 price. I told him, Ryan, you need to be at 525. I know she's saying 550, I'm saying 525, and here's why. You go down to 550, you're going to be one amongst 5 others that are all at 550 that are not moving. You need to be the best priced one so that everyone comes to yours and you get the offer. And if we're successful and we get multiple, we might be able to get back up to 550, but you need to be in the 525 range. And he trusted us on that. And sure enough, we put it on the market. This is the story where we reverse prospected it. An agent I knew brought her buyer, all that stuff. We ended up getting 2 offers on it, and we sold it for 545 within a week. And so he went from a situation taking 6 months to sell his house. He was about to take another 3 to 4 potentially and have to drop it further, where instead we got ahead of the market and beat all those other ones out that have been sitting for 30, 40 days at that price, and actually got him the price he wanted, or at least one that worked for him in that situation. So I think just being able to share stories, sharing experiences and all that, and then just being direct and honest with people is important. And then at the end of the day, let the data do the heavy lifting. That was a situation. Hey, these comps don't justify it, and you need to be the best priced. And here's why. This is what might happen if you actually listen to us.
When I'm listening to you, Michael, what I'm picking up is you're very professional, and yet you're not attached to the outcome.
Nope.
There's no sort of desperation coming from you. There's no sort of, oh my gosh, I really, really hope I get this listing. I really hope they like me. Like, I'm not picking up anything like that. Are you going on enough listing appointments? Is that why? What's created this for you?
I think that might be part of it. I mean, I've been on quite a few, and I look at, I know if Chris and Ben have talked about it. It's not a listing presentation; it's a listing consultation. And I'm going there to learn about their needs, their wants, their goals, and I'm there problem solving. And it becomes how can we find the best outcome for you based upon what you want to do? And I think a good example would be I went with one of our newer partners on a listing appointment, a week or 2 ago. Here locally, and the guy bought the house. It's a little, I think, 2-bedroom home, maybe 3-bedroom, but they have 3 or 4 kids. It's way too small for what they need. And it's not in the best area, although he grew up in the area, so he doesn't mind the location so much. And going into it, my partner told me that he either wants to do an addition or he's thinking of selling and moving. And so you might think, okay, we have to sell this guy into selling his home so we can help him buy, and then our team makes money. That's awesome. At the same time, is that the best situation? And I started talking to him and just asking questions. And it was very evident that he loved this house and didn't want to sell it. He's got the golden handcuff, 2%, 3% interest rate, and it's a very challenging thing. And I'm looking at numbers on it, and it's like, okay, you're going to take out a construction loan to do an addition. It's going to jump your payment from $1,800 up to $3,000. Or you could sell your house, take the equity you have, go buy a house, and your payment's going to be about $3,200. Or have you thought about not selling your house, turning it into a rental, and buying a house? And that wasn't something he'd thought about really, but that was what I suggested to him, because I actually don't live that far from him. That's what I did. I bought a small house in the neighborhood. My wife and I lived there until we were expecting our first kid. We needed more space. We bought a house across the neighborhood and turned it into a rental. And so I ran the numbers with him, and I said, what you could do, and I was like, you're talking about taking money from your house. It's like, do you have any money saved up? He's like, yeah, I've got about 20 or 30,000. And I was like, well, that's 5% down on a $500,000 house, which is the budget that you mentioned, the house you were looking at. I said, let's run a quick calculation. I pulled out a mortgage calculator. We did the math on it and all that. And when it came to what we felt we could rent his house for, what the new payment was and all that stuff without even touching the equity in his home, we found out, hey, you can buy a new house right now with the money you have without touching your equity. You could cash flow this one by $1,000 a month and get a house over there for 500 where the payment's $3,000 a month. And so it's actually a hybrid of what you want to do. You get to keep your house. It actually will make money for you. You'll have two properties. You won't have to touch your equity, and the payment's going to be the same regardless of what you do. What are your thoughts? He goes, wow, actually that would be ideal. And it went from a listing appointment to now this is a buyer appointment. Let's get you connected with our lender and see if there's an option that makes sense. And then from there, great. If there is, we'll move forward. If not, no big deal, but you got some great options. And we didn't really sell him into trying to sell his house. We just consulted with him on his real estate needs and what the best option is going to be. And he may not do it right now. He's trying to do some preliminary stuff. I think he's trying to get ready with some things. And we really just kind of try to convince him, hey, at least talk to our lender. Let's see what your options are. So whether you do this right now or if it's 6 months to a year from now, we can actually line things up and help you when the time is right. And so I can guarantee you when he's ready to do something, he's going to work with our team because we didn't try to sell him into something. We provided him some options and some solutions for what he wanted to do.
I'm curious because I remember you as a new agent. You're very polished now. How many listing appointments do you feel like in a year you expect to go on?
Gosh, it just depends. This year, I'm actually pretty up there. Most of my business this year is listings. In the past, I've been either 50-50 or a little bit buyer heavy. This year, I want to say of everything I have going with my last 8 closings, I think 7 of them are listings. So it's been pretty listing heavy. Some of it's been referral. Some of it's been, I sold a house and then the neighbor calls me, wants me to sell theirs, right? So it's been more listing heavy this year. But then most of my buyers have actually come from either I'm selling their house and they're buying something, or like you mentioned, hey, the listing generates it, or I get a phone call on my listing, then they want to go buy something different. But yeah, I go in quite a few. I think though the biggest thing with how you get polished on it is one, although you don't necessarily want to give the whole listing presentation at every single listing appointment, have it down so well that you could if you had to, and have it down so well that you can't really get it wrong. It's not just I have it memorized to the point I can do it. I have it down so well I can't get it wrong. And I think when you get it there, one, it completely changes your confidence on the phones, and it also changes your confidence at the appointments because you can jump back and forth to different parts of it without having to like go in order. You can kind of tailor your script and all that. Gosh, my first year, Jake actually challenged me. I was, a couple months in, he went on a listing appointment with me and I just botched it. And it was actually it was a referral. I think it was my wife's friend's boyfriend at the time, and they're now married and all that. But I thought I was gonna be selling his house and he would be there. It turns out it was his mom's house and he was late. And so I'm here meeting his mom, who I'd never met before, waiting for him to show up. And I'm giving this presentation. And even though I knew parts of it, I kind of half-assed it, kind of going through it. And we got the listing. I don't think I would have got it had I not known them, or at least kind of known them. But it was a terrible presentation. And Jake basically told me, hey, you've got 2 weeks to learn this thing. And if you don't, I'm going to take X amount of dollars, I think it's several thousand out of this commission check when you sell it. And so I took the challenge seriously. I memorized it so well I could do it word for word within 2 weeks. And I had to present in front of our team, and I passed the test on it. But really from there is when my business changed. When I first started, I went, first few months, I had a couple deals signed, I think 1 transaction in 3 months that I did. By 5 months in, I'd closed 5, and then my first year I did 26. And that included going into presentations where I'm up against a 20-year area expert who knew the person, and I got the listing over them, just by how I gave the presentation. So I think really, yes, going on a bunch of appointments helps with your experience, and you get better at it the more you do. However, I think if you get the listing presentation down so well that you can talk with a ton of confidence around it, that really can help you as well to actually sign listings.
I love it because you started in a market that wasn't like the hottest. You started in a very normal market.
Mhm.
Then you went through the pandemic and then through all of the rest of this. One last question from Mr. Kevin Vorbeck. Have you incorporated anything in Area Pro yet? And what does that look like if you guys have?
Yeah, we do. A lot of times we'll do kind of a charting based on their location, like that one that we went to earlier this week where I was suggesting 725 on the price when these other ones are 750. Area Pro actually said the same thing, right? They showed that all the active ones were at 750, 760, 55 days on market, and all the pending ones were at 725 on average. And so I was able to kind of take that data and show, hey, it's not just us. This is kind of really even expanded beyond your zip code, this is what is shown, or expanded to your full zip code, this is what is kind of showing in the area, that these are the ones that are actually getting bites. I've also had it be where I play around with it with the person there, and just with the AI, hey, tell me about the market in this, and then all of a sudden have it spit out exactly what I already share with him as far as a suggestion, all that stuff, and they kind of get impressed with it. So I do bring the stuff with us, and as well as I'll pull MLS trends and things to kind of show them what the market's doing.
Okay, I love it. For everyone on the call and everyone listening after the call, this is one that I would listen back to. There were several times in this presentation that Michael had very specific language that, I'm 22 years in the business, that moved me. So if it moved me, I mean, the only reason it wouldn't move you is if you just zoned out. And by the way, we all are capable of zoning out. This is not a judgment. This is just human nature. But go back to some of this, and really, it's look at it and think, man, this is my competition. Now he's not in your market, but there's an agent in your market like him. There are many agents in your market like him. This is what he sounds like. What do you sound like? And it's not a judgment. It's this is reality. How do I get there? Because we have the best opportunity in all of our markets to absolutely change the trajectory of our incomes. Money doesn't make you happy, but man, does it help. And so you're in charge of you. You're going to work hard no matter where you're going to go. If I choose not to work hard in real estate, I have to get a job. And if I have to get a job, guess what? If I don't work hard at that job, I get fired. This is the nature of life, right? And so you're going to work hard wherever you go. You might as well work for yourself and deliver for your family. Michael, have you guys had a couple kids or just one?
Yeah, we got one that's 3 and one that should be turning 1 in August. He's about, I guess, 8 months now.
Okay. Happily married?
Happily married. Yep.
That's good. That's good. Hitting income goals, or how's that going for you?
Yeah, so far this year, off to a good year. Like no complaints. Got some big price points coming up as well. So this should be a busy month coming up too. So
I love it. I love it. Guys, this is awesome. Michael, you are awesome. Man, so grateful. Really poured into us this morning. Not just the people on the call this morning, but everyone for the next year that's going to watch this. Highly appreciative of you. Highly appreciative that you're in our company. I hope you're buying that stock, and I hope you're like a mega millionaire after all of this. You deserve it and more. Love to have you. Love to see all of our Texas and beyond people. We will see you next week. We're going to continue this trend because gosh darn it, we are going to get good at listings. We are going to own our markets. We're going to have the market share, but more than that, you're never going to get rid of the stress out, but you can get rid of the burnout. And the path to getting rid of burnout is to leverage your time better. And you can have both worlds. You can have great buyers by having great sellers. Michael, appreciate you. I'm going to send out an email later today with the recording and with all of Michael's information. I want you to plug him into your phone under Sacramento and beyond so that you have him as a referral partner up that area, and he'd be happy to handle any of your clients. And now you feel really confident that Michael can absolutely handle your clients. Appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of your week. I will be here next week. I'm at 35 weeks, so still kicking. Literally, she is kicking. So not planning on going anywhere else. And don't worry, during maternity leave, we have a lineup of amazing people. So we are going to keep this party going all year long. Have a great week, guys. See you later. Bye.